Good evening and welcome to Undoing I Do with Stephanie in a Day. I am Stephanie Hunnell, the owner of the Hunnell Law Group in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and your co-host for this evening.
And I am Adela Sherilyn Dow, the owner of the law offices of Adela Sherilyn Dow in Staten Island, New York. And I'm also your co-host for this evening. Sometimes I say that, sometimes I don't,
Happy Thursday. I love your jacket.
Happy Thursday. Thank you. I have a little velour, velvet, whatever you want to call action going on. I was feeling kind of gangster today, so why not?
I like it.
How has your week been?
It's been long. It's been very, very long. It's been ridiculously busy. I don't know where I got like a little burst of energy the last half hour, so that's good.
It was because you knew that you were coming on to talk to the people tonight about some celebrity gossip.
Yes. We got all of the juice.
Anytime we can talk about some juiciness, sipping some tea, I'm excited. I've been in court all day. I'm excited to sip the tea.
Nice.
And spill some.
Yep.
So tonight we are talking about why does that rich people always seem to finish their divorce before the divorce even started?
I think it's because they're really business smart.
Exactly. Not only that. Okay, so here's my thought process. First of all, we all know that marriages don't just end like that. Marriages usually fizzle out. So as you're on the fizzle, aren't you having conversations about who's going to take the dog? And do you want to sell this car? And if you're not having those conversations, then you're not thinking like a billionaire. Because every single billionaire couple that we hear gets divorced, they always like resolve the next day or something. They have an agreement.
I'm sure it also has to do with their publicist, like making them wait to make this joint announcement on Twitter before they do that too.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. But the biggest thing about it is we know that these people are doing some real strategic planning before they're letting anybody in on their business.
Yep. Let me tell you. So how many times do we have a divorce where people are, middle class income, let's say between $50,000 and $150,000 on one side or the other or both. And they come to your office and you ask the question, have you talked to your husband or your wife about the prospect of getting a divorce? And they say, no, I haven't even talked to them about it yet. By the time you come to a lawyer, I don't understand how people are not having that conversation. I mean, there's Google. You can look up all of these things. I don't understand how the conversation isn't being had.
Yeah, I don't understand that. And you and I are both married, so I really just don't understand. We understand what it is like to be in a marriage. And so, it can't just be that you're just randomly coming up with this idea that you want to be divorced and that nobody's ever thought about it or said anything.
Right.
Maybe they don't know that you're going to the divorce lawyer's office. And I always believe in the left hand not knowing what the right hand's doing in certain situations, right? Especially if it's primarily if it's a domestic violence situation. Okay, right. In that sense, we just want you out of the house. We do not want you to be talking to anybody about anything. Just get out.
Yep.
Right? But it makes sense. And this is what Bill and Melinda, and this is what Jeff and MacKenzie did, right? And if you don't know who Jeff and MacKenzie are, those are our friends, the Bezos, the former Bezos. Shout out to y'all if any of y'all need matrimonial attorneys, please shout us out. Come on. All right, we are
I'm ready. I am ready. I will clear my entire calendar to make sure we take care of your every need.
Exactly. But, the primary thing is that these people have gotten their ducks in a row, and they've started to discuss either themselves or with their own attorneys what their future is going to look like. Mm-hmm. How much money do I need? Okay. So before they get into their office, into their attorney's offices, they probably had a good idea of how much it costs them to run their household every month or every year. How much the trips to Vail and all these other places cost.
Right, all in. Yep.
Right. and how much they need in order to restart their lives. Knowing that stuff and starting to get that stuff in line is magical for a divorce resolution. Magical. Because now you don't have to waste the time trying to figure all of this stuff out and the months that it generally takes people to come to terms with what their budget even is.
I mean, and look, even if you haven't talked to your spouse about divorce, I think you should have those numbers in your own mind. You should start figuring those things out. And we've talked about this so much recently about mindset and about goal setting and about, taking a look at what you want your future to look like so you can plan accordingly instead of living in this chaos of what is divorce. And yeah, they do that. They absolutely have done that. I guess it's kind of easy to do it when you have billions of dollars with B's because, there's a lot to go around. I want to pull up one thing because I looked at that. So Mackenzie Scott received $38 billion in July of 2019, which was less than half. So she took a haircut because she knew she could, but it's $38 billion. She gave away $4.2 billion almost immediately to charity. Almost immediately. She currently has a net worth of $59 billion. It's been 22 months. And her 38 is already 59 after giving 4 away.
Can you imagine?
Crazy.
Mackenzie, hit us up and tell us what you're doing. We need to know. We need to know what you're doing because we don't have billions, but we would like to know how to increase to that degree what we already have.
Right.
But here's the thing. That's really important. And people will say, well, it's easy for them because, Mackenzie took a haircut, but Mackenzie has billions. I don't have billions. I have hundreds of thousands. Yeah, but work within your own ability. We're not asking you to put yourself into the Mackenzie, the Bill, and the Melinda situation. We're saying, how much could you save in heartache, heartbreak, frustration, counsel fees, all kinds of emotional costs, right? Mm-hmm. How much could you save if you could sit down and say, okay, you know what? What we're going to do since we're getting divorced is we're going to be fair with each other. We're going to be equitable with each other. We're going to be adults. Neither one of us is winning because as far as I'm concerned, I always tell people, once you get into the courtroom, everybody's lost. Mm-hmm. So neither of us are going to take the position of, I got to get you for that or I got to win this. What we're going to do is we're going to try as best as we can to make a reasonable negotiation here so that even though we're all not going to be whole, because, Jeff is still not whole. Jeff still lost $38 billion.
Yeah, he did. But, don't cry for him too much. He has $194 billion as of yesterday.
Girl. And Mackenzie's remarried now.
Yes,
she remarried this year.
Like a school teacher, I think.
Like a regular dude.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not mad at her. Yep. But yeah, I mean, if people would just start to be reasonable, I think it comes from the standpoint, like you said, of this is now just business. Mm-hmm. Let's not get all up in, because I mean, if there's stuff to get into, and we're talking about Bill and Melinda, did you hear about the ex-girlfriend that he was taking trips with and everything?
Oh,
they were still. Yeah. I don't know if it was recent, but during the marriage, he would take trips with his ex-girlfriend and they would talk about, biochemistry and whatever else that they were talking about, whatever highbrow stuff that they were talking about. And apparently his wife knew this and didn't have an issue with the relationship and stuff like that. I mean, maybe they are just really mentally elevated people, because I would have a problem with that. I would be petty, but hey, I don't know whether this was the whole arrangement.
Right. I mean, of course, we never know what's inside somebody's marriage, like behind closed doors, how they manage things. And they could have, the last 10 years, they could have not been happy with each other. Who really knows? They do look like, when they're in public anyway, they do look like they actually like each other. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily see very much affection, but I do think they look like they like each other and they respect each other. And they look like they love their children for sure. I see the affection when I see pictures of them with their children. But yeah, I mean, they can probably, I think what they said was something like they know they can't grow together any longer, so they just need to move on.
Absolutely, Moji. You can definitely share. Say hello to Mrs. Wilson as well, Mrs. Wilson. Moji is a friend of mine and a fellow Nigerian, except she's a real Nigerian because I'm only half Nigerian. So,
I love her headdress in this picture over here. I'm not sure.
Magele is amazing, and in the picture is also her lovely wife, Dr. Wilson. Nice. Hope you guys are doing awesome. Thanks for watching us. Yeah, you can definitely share it. But, yeah, I think that what's so important is that you realize that, okay, this didn't work. We're over it. Process that. Do whatever you have to do to process that. I'm a firm believer of not going into the lawyer's office as soon as you got wind that something was going down. Either he cheated or, there was financial infidelity and we're just running into the lawyer's office and we're going to file today because you're just too hot. It's just too hot. And sometimes you can't make rational decisions when you're riding on this emotional high of the betrayal.
I want to even add to that. You said sometimes you can't make rational decisions. I don't think at all you can make a rational decision when you're living in that anger, when you're living in the frustration, when you're living in whatever emotions you're living in. I don't think you're going to ever make up the best decision for yourself because it's a reaction.
For your family, yeah.
Yeah, I think because it's a reaction instead of a proactive, calculated, thought out decision.
And sometimes, what happens with that is that you just want to run away from the pain, whatever it is. Now, look, Stephanie and I are not psychologists, but we play them on TV in terms of how we deal with our cases. And when you're a matrimonial lawyer, you always have a component of being a counselor, right?
Yep.
But sometimes people, a lot of times people just want to get out of the situation. They want to get away from the pain. It hurts so badly when you have been betrayed and you just want to rip off any kind of vestige that's left of that betrayal. And so you want to go fast. How quickly can I get this done? I need to get in court. I need to And when you do that, you leave off the ability to prepare for something that doesn't have to be so dramatic.
Yes. Oh, that's 100%. Right. All of that. Yep. All of that. And I've read different articles that the only time people really are willing to change is when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of changing, because human nature, a lot of people don't like change. We don't want to change. We know what is, and we're comfortable with what we know, even if it's painful. But if it's slightly less painful than change, we're just going to stick with it. So when that pain happens, then you're like, it's the what is it? Flight or freight? What is it?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, because the brain literally just wants you to be as safe as possible and will allow you to make decisions that may not be the best for you, but because they feel somehow familiar, that's what you're going to do. And so let's think about it. Oh, my girlfriend Sally fought. She went to court. She fought for this. She fought. Well, girlfriend Sally was fighting for a totally different reason than you probably should be fighting for. Or maybe girlfriend Sally shouldn't have been fighting either to that degree. And she would have had a more peaceful resolution and would have been able to facilitate a more reasonable and kind resolution in her case.
Yeah.
And kind not only to Sally, but kind for her spouse. If the person is a co-parent, I mean, look, when you decide that you're going to do the scorched earth no matter what, the only people that you are enriching are your lawyers.
Yes.
You're not helping yourself, and you're not helping your kids, and you're not helping your spouse.
Not at all. Not at all. By the way, not just scorched earth. Also, when you don't have a plan in place, people tend to change their mind. They tend to go one direction and they're not totally sure about it. So then they want to go another direction and they're not totally sure about it. And then they kind of flip flop, because I have that sometimes where, because you didn't have a plan in place to begin with, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I expect. This is what I need. And this is what I'm willing to accept. You don't have that. And that's also more money to lawyers.
Absolutely. And I think that that's the thing that a lot of these couples realize. It's like, damn, we got too much to lose to screw this
Mm-hmm.
this ish up. We
Mm-hmm.
got way too much to lose. That mindset right there is what regular, everyday, middle class, upper middle class people need to be living in.
Yes.
No matter how much the money is that we're talking about, you got too much
Mm-hmm.
to mess it up.
Yeah, even if it's, if it's $100,000 that you're looking at, why not split that and save that instead of giving it to lawyers and fighting over things that you don't need to fight over? It really
Absolutely.
is. And by the
Absolutely.
way, just when you were talking early on, when I said it's easy because there's billions, and you said, well, you kind of corrected me and said, even if you have, less money, you should still make it easy on yourself, I think is what you said. But I had a client many years ago. They had like $1 million, let's say, in joint assets. And they, the husband was the primary earner, and the wife was basically the stay-at-home mom. He was like, I don't want to fight over anything. He said a reasonable amount of support. They split all of the assets 50-50. And he said, you're still the mother of my children. I want to help. Let me help you invest your money. She absolutely refused. She thought he was being controlling. We're getting divorced for a reason, this whole thing. He's now multi-millionaire with his $500,000, and she has almost nothing.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. So this is wow.
Yep.
You should have asked to help me. I mean, I need help. I would have taken this help.
I want some of your tips.
Give me your tips, please. Moji. Oh, thank you, Moji.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for the share.
Thank you for the share. I miss you, Moji. So yeah, hey Shonda. Shonda was on our show just last week. If y'all need some real estate information and a boss agent, is Shonda a broker?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You need a boss broker, you better roll on over to Shonda. So yeah, I mean,
she is the best.
Oh, thank you. Oh, what, Moji? Listen, thank you.
So much love.
Moji might have me crying about it. Let me, Moji, stop it. Thank you. But yeah, if you have a spouse who you can, if you have a situation where you really can't trust a person, then that's a different situation, right? You really can't trust them and you don't believe that they have your best interest at heart, then that's a whole nother situation. Run the other way, do what you need to do, line up your lawyer, get everything, but again, still come in organized. And don't let yourself be run down the road with a whole bunch of misunderstandings and confusions because you don't know what your situation is. And look, Stephanie and I are lawyers, right? We love lawyers. Usually we'll ride for a good lawyer. But there's a whole bunch of bad lawyers out there who will take advantage of everything that you fear about the process, will bump you up to believe he don't need to get this, she doesn't need to get this, they don't know what and sometimes that's not the right way to take. And here's a great example of that not being the right way to take.
Right. Yep.
Now when it comes to your kids, that's a whole nother story, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, when we're talking about the finances and the financial aspects of resolving your divorce, it's a business decision. You have to look at it that way. The numbers are the numbers. The court really doesn't care about all the emotion that people attach to these finances. So just if we can get you beyond that and we could make this a business decision, that's, the route to go. But yes, when it deals with your children, that's a different story.
Yeah. I think that everybody would agree that if your children are not going to be served by you settling a case a particular way, then you can't settle it that particular way. And I think that that's where you do see a lot of infighting with respect to celebrities and high net worth people. I think you see the infighting more so with regards to the custody and how the kids can be used necessarily by the other person who doesn't have any money. Like, let's say like Bethany Frankel and her husband. Like that
Right.
turned out to be so nasty. But I think that the reasoning behind that was probably more so that the child was being used as a way to get, was being weaponized as a way to get money. It depends on how you see it, but that's what my thought process was with that. But
Yeah.
if you know, if you don't have that to argue about, then I mean, what is your thought about that? Do you know?
Well, no, I was going to say, so with Brittney Spears, I had the same thought process early on that Kevin Federline was using the kids in order to get support that he wasn't entitled to because it was such a short-term marriage. You know, as things progressed and we saw how it evolved and maybe she has some mental health issues, then it seemed like that wasn't the case. And he
Right.
really did need to fight for those kids. And the kids
Right.
are entitled to live a lifestyle you know, that's commensurate with what their mom does. And that's not meaning that, you know, just because he is the dad and isn't making the kind of cash she is, that the kids shouldn't be able to have that kind of cash and lifestyle and expectations of things.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. You know, I would never tell anybody to make, as a matter of fact, I make sure that I don't tell people to make resolutions that it's in any way going to reduce their ability to care for their children. Your children are your primary. And so even I have gentlemen who get custody of their kids and say, "Oh, I don't want any child support. I don't want child support whatsoever." Now, look, if you are Bill and Melinda, whose kids are grown, but if you're Bill and Melinda, then perhaps you just don't need the child support. I'm down with you on that one. You don't need it. But if you are a regular W-2 earning person and you're just not taking the child support because you want to save face or you want to be, you want to appear right, then you might want to rethink that, because at the end of the day, their kids' best interest is what should really prevail here.
Right. I agree with you. And you know, on that, when we're talking about high net worth divorces, usually, and I want to just touch on college and kids. So with high net worth divorces, and it doesn't have to be billions. I mean, it can be millions and hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know, there's not an issue of the kids are going to college, the parents are going to pay, there's enough and assets to cover those expenses for the kids. I saw a very interesting post on Facebook either yesterday or the day before that talked about when you are now, the earner is now obligated to pay, let's say 80% for college, but they're also on the hook for the same amount of child support. Whereas the argument now that we might need to make a reduction because his income has been decreased because there's a finite amount of money to go around.
Yeah, see, so in New York, we have case law that allows you to request credits for whatever you pay in the child's food and room and board expenses from the amount of child support that you're paying. Because technically that's a double dip, right? Because child support is supposed to pay for the child's share of the roof expenses, right? Food, the gas, the lights, and all of that type of stuff, the car insurance. And so if you're paying full boat, or, you know, whatever your full percentage is of the expenses like that the child has on campus, then you can't also be paying full boat for the child's expenses at the house that they're not currently living in.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it just, it was, well, on this particular thread, it was the thought that if you had $100,000 and you're paying $20,000 in college expenses, perhaps the new number for your income should be $80,000 and rerun the guidelines, because the court refused to adjust child support at all. So the thought process was perhaps then the number should be 80,000 for income. And then that would give him some kind of a break, knowing he's paying such a large amount for college.
Yeah. I mean, you know, my thought process, I think that when somebody is paying a similar expense or an expense that's a duplicate, they should get a credit for the duplicate expense.
And it's because even if you, it's a court of equity.
Right. It's a court of equity. And so if people are watching, you know, family courts are supposed to be, they're courts of law, but they're also courts of equity. And that means that they're also supposed to do what is right. I don't want to say fair, because that gets into all all kinds of morality issues and things like that. And it's not a court that tries to judge all kinds of morality, right?
Right.
But it is supposed to be a court of equity. And so they're not supposed to issue rulings that would just really hurt somebody and have them in an inequitable position.
Right.
Yeah. So, I had told my client care specialist, I said to her, she said, "Oh, Bill and Melinda are getting divorced." And I'm like, "Really? I didn't even know. I was so busy, nerding it out, doing my stuff." I said, "I didn't." She said, "Well, where have you been?" I said, "Girl, I bet you that the divorce, you'll hear tomorrow that the divorce was settled." Mm-hmm. And sure enough, the next day it was, "Oh, they have a separation agreement." Mm-hmm. Well, that happens by sheer planning and organization. Mm-hmm. If you don't have to be in litigation, don't do it. It's not necessary if you don't really have to. Hire you some badass attorneys who are going to tell you the truth, sit you down, and figure out a resolution. We've talked about this before. Sometimes the bulldog attorney is not what you need.
Mm-hmm. Yep. A lot of times it's not what you need. I mean, look, the dissolution of a family is a very sensitive area. And there's a lot of emotion involved. And when you have a bulldog attorney, a lot of times all it does is ramp up the emotion and then prevents you from being able to move on and settle your case. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And also the bulldog attorney will do for you exactly the opposite of what Bill and Melinda's attorneys. And by the way, Melinda has like 3 attorneys.
Yeah, you said that. I didn't know that. I know, by the way, so I know that on each side, they have the same attorneys as Bezos have. But I didn't know that she had 2 additional attorneys.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, what do you do? Maybe Melinda has some other stuff that she needs to be careful about. So she had to hire 2 extra guns. Because after all, I mean, he's the one who brought the majority of the money in. Oh, and they don't have a prenup.
Right. Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that? I was kind of shocked to learn that they didn't have a prenup.
Originally, I was shocked until I remembered they've been married for 26 years. Yeah. And at the time, he was a CEO of a large company and he was wealthy. And she was working for that same company. So it wasn't like they had this stupid money like they have now.
Stupid money.
It's stupid money.
It's stupid money. It's stupid money. Oh my God.
We were talking about, I couldn't even fathom having $1 billion.
A billion, let alone hundreds of billions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hopefully I can fathom it one day. I'm going to just put that into the atmosphere. Hopefully I can fathom it. Or my kids could develop some apps or something and then I can fathom it through them. I don't, whatever. It doesn't matter how I get there. As long as it's honest, it don't matter how I get there.
Every second you're making $1 million or something stupid.
Right? You just wake up, ooh, well, that was just 500 million. But so the majority of it's interesting to see though, because even though Bill was just wealthy, I would have still thought that they would have had a prenup because Bill already understood what the trajectory of Microsoft, what the trajectory was going to be. Mm-hmm. Right? So stupid money equals stupid problems.
I like some stupid problems, please.
Okay. Your husband is out here in these streets. What? I'll take $1 billion pennies. Rich, I'm gonna leave you to your pennies, okay? All right.
What did we say? We said we're gonna start a 1 billion penny campaign and see if we can collect 1 billion pennies, which is $10 million.
Mm-hmm. Somebody got to count it though. I mean, I'll come and help y'all.
We'll go to the coin star. We'll be like, what?
The Coinstar. Do they even still have Coinstar anymore?
No.
Do you remember the Penny Arcade at Commerce Bank or TD Bank? They shut her down a long time ago. So I don't know who's going to count the billion pennies, but look, But huh?
They can take 10% to count the pennies.
Look, I will. Hands up. Hands up. Okay, 10%. I'll take it. But yeah, when we talk about these couples, usually we're talking about couples who have prenuptial agreements. I don't think did the Bezoses have a prenuptial agreement?
I don't think they did either.
I don't think they did. Yeah.
There was somebody else recently, a bigger divorce, and they didn't have a prenup. That one I was shocked about because they were both multi-millionaires. I can't remember, but
we haven't done a prenup show yet. But what are you, pro prenup or against prenup?
I am pro prenup. I just don't know how effective they are all the time, because I get them often a month before they're supposed to get married, and they want this prenup, and I'm like, I can't help you. I can't.
I won't take it.
And it's not going to be worth the paper it's printed on, because you're getting married in 30 days.
Yeah. I will not take a case where somebody is getting, I'll have people call me and say that they're getting married in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they want me to draft a prenup. I will never take that case. I do not care how much you're willing to pay me. I will, well, unless it's the billion pennies, and not in pennies though, and you've already had Penny Arcade counted. But no, I will not take it. And it's a myth that only rich people need prenups. I mean, the biggest reason for me to advocate for prenups is when people are having second marriages and they want to make sure that their children from their primary marriage, their first marriage, are taken care of and things like that. They have businesses that were already in play, and they want to make sure that they protect the business from the claims of the spouse. But prenups are not just for rich people.
No, not at all. People have family businesses that have been in the family for years and decades. I think you should have a prenup when you get married, because even if you're a percentage owner of that business, you should have a prenup so your business is protected, and your family's not stuck having to litigate a case with you in order to prove your percentage of interest for your divorce in the future.
And the other thing that the prenup will do is it can also limit your amount for alimony. You cannot decide that you're marrying somebody that you don't think is going to be the best parent, and so therefore you're going to put custody into your prenup. You cannot put custody into your prenup, people. You also cannot put child support into your prenup, so please stop.
I have one for you. So I have one for you. Not only did this person put into their prenup the day before they were flying off to destination wedding, that he presented it to his soon-to-be wife, that she gets nothing. Like, it was very one-sided. And in it, there's a provision that says she's obligated to care for his children during and after the divorce. Yes.
Wait, the children together? Or are you kidding?
His children prior to his marriage. This is one of her responsibilities as the new wife.
How is that even? Why do people? Was that drafted by a lawyer?
No. Luckily, no. It was drafted by Rocket Lawyer or one of those apps or something.
Oh my goodness. Like, just because people sign stuff, folks, doesn't mean that it's enforceable. You can't just put anything in a daggone document and be like, oh, it's notarized. So what?
Yes. I'm like, please go get an attorney. Please have an attorney review this, so that way we can bypass that part of the litigation that sets that agreement aside. And he's like, she signed it. It's notarized. I have the notary seal.
Okay, that's nice.
Okay.
That's not going to work. That's not going to work out for you. Okay. I know. I see the seal. It's not going to work out for you. So, but what prenups do for people, whether they're rich or not, is if they are enforceable, it will clear the decks for what you're actually arguing about in your divorce. And it is another tool that wealthy people use in order to simplify divorce proceedings.
And also, you are able to outline and articulate what will happen in the event of divorce when you actually still like each other and are trying to be fair with each other, rather than in the heat of a divorce when sometimes you can't stand the other person at all.
Right. And so look, in order to make that a true statement, please do not give your future spouse the prenup 3 days, 3 weeks before the wedding. Have the conversation while you're dating. How about that? What do you think about prenups? Do you think that would you want a prenup? Don't just hit people over the head with the prenup at the last minute, because it's going to probably blow up in your face. In New York, we have case law that says poof in your face. That's what it says. It literally says that in the
Does
deck.
it really?
No, it doesn't say that.
These judges get cheeky sometimes, they'll put stuff like that. They write a song, there's a poem in some cases.
You'll be like, isn't this a John Mellencamp song? Yeah, some judges do stuff like that. But yeah, we hope that this show was informative. We hope that it gave you some insight as to how you can use some of the tips that the ultra wealthy use to resolve your case before you end up being a victim of legal fees and the court system that doesn't really care sometimes how you end up.
It's true.
It's just the truth.
Don't forget to like and share and join our YouTube page. If you subscribe, you'll be able to get an alert so you can see all new episodes every Thursday at 6.
Every Thursday at 6 p.m. exactly. Like our YouTube page. It's scrolling across there right now. And also, if you have any questions that you want us to answer here live, definitely go ahead and show up in our inbox. Thank you, Rich. Your wife is awesome, and you know this. So she makes the show fun and informative. So definitely shout us out on Facebook if you want to, but if you think that it's a private matter, let us know and we will consider addressing it on our show. Thanks
and we
for
will
watching.
do it confidentially so your name won't be exposed.
Exactly. That's exactly what we'll do. Thanks for watching.
See you next Thursday.